Hello, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Star Trek Picard Season 1, Episode 5, Stardust City Rag. This video is part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Picard, so I'll have to start with a spoiler warning for Star Trek Picard up to Season 1, Episode 5. If you haven't seen up to this point, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So, as you can see, I am finally back home, back in the United States. Got my whole get up here. A few new friends, the Tuatara and the Kia, New Zealand keepsakes. Anyway, you're here to hear about Picard. So, this latest episode, I really wanted to like this episode. Like, I was really trying hard to like this episode because I was like, oh, cool things are happening. We see 709 again. We finally see Bruce Maddox. We see Icheb even gets an appearance in the shout out, which I like. And people, going around shooting, a lot of action. But you know what? I just couldn't like this episode that much. As I wanted to like it, there was something in the back of my mind that was just like, this isn't good. And I think when I tried to boil down to analyzing what exactly about this episode that was keeping me from liking it, I think it could best be described as the Game of Thrones Season 8 effect. And that is that a lot of stuff happened. And there was a lot of cool visuals, and a lot of things happened, but they didn't feel earned. I didn't feel the emotional connection, and the character story seemed to be missing a bit. Now, first, let me talk, because every episode of Picard so far. I'm not sure if the pilot, I can't remember. But anyway, every episode of Picard, pretty much every episode, started with a teaser that's a flashback. Now, most of them were kind of related to the Mars attack or in some way or fashion. This was the first one that was not. It was all about, 709 and her meeting up with trying to rescue Icheb and Icheb being tortured and her being left with no recourse but to mercy kill him, which is very sad. But I don't think it was the concept is all there. It's an interesting concept, and it's definitely, it should have a huge emotional impact, especially on someone like me, who was very familiar with Voyager, who watched Voyager, knows all about Icheb. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of clickbait articles out everywhere explaining who exactly Icheb is. So in case you're watching this right now, you don't know who Icheb is. He was a side character who appeared on Voyager. He was another person who was rescued from the Borg. Now, there's a 6-season episode in Voyager called... There were 7 seasons in Voyager, so it was introduced late in the game, late in the 6th season, so he was only there for the last 2 seasons. But there's an episode... I can't even remember the name of the episode now. But anyway, there was an episode where there was a Borg ship that was destroyed or in ruin, and there were only 5 survivors, and they were all children. Because apparently there was some virus that wiped out all the adults, but it left the children in the maturation chambers alive, and they came out and were acting all tough, and they're all Borg, and they kidnapped a couple people from the Voyager crew, and they ended up having to kill the leader of the Borg children because he kept threatening to kill them all. But the other children they liberated from the Borg and took them aboard Voyager, and 709 sort of became their tutor and their mentor. Now, there were 4 children, but 3 of them left the ship at the start of Season 7. I guess the writers were sick of having them or didn't know how to write for them. They didn't have much lines. There was these 2 boys, or young boys, that were twins that never had any lines. There was a young girl who's the youngest, and she had a bit to do, but I guess they didn't want her anymore, so they just wrote all 3 of them off the show. But Icheb, who was the oldest, he was a teenager, he stayed, and so during the 7th season, he became Seven of Nine's mentor, and he wanted to. I believe he even applied for Starfleet Academy at the end of Voyager, right before it ended. So he was a pretty important character. He was seen as Seven of Nine was his mentor. So I like the call back to that. I like how they didn't actually try to force feed it, because if you're not familiar with Voyager, you know nothing about it, you still got that he was Seven of Nine's protege, that she looked at him kind of as a son, and I think she even called him my boy or something like that, or something along those lines. So I mean, you could get that from just watching this episode. And I like that. I like that they didn't take the time to hold your hand. I mean, they did. I think later in the episode, 7 of 9 mentioned that he was rescued by Voyager, and they gave a call out that he's from the Delta Quadrant. And I do like that. So I like the interconnectedness. And I do like, because they very easily could have just made up another character and said, oh, this other character became 7 of 9's protege during the missing however many years. It was 25 years since Voyager ended, or whatever, or 20 years, however long it was. They could have easily done that, so I appreciate that they didn't. I appreciate that they used a familiar character we are familiar with, and we do know the audience can identify with. I kind of feel that's what they did with Raffi. I still don't like it. I still don't like it. They just invented a connection between her and Picard that happened in the missing years, so we don't really feel any connection to that. So I appreciate that they didn't do that for 7 of 9. But the thing is that, as I said, as a Voyager fan, I should have been very emotionally affected by Icheb's death, but I felt nothing. I didn't feel much. I didn't feel like it was what it felt more like, if I was going to compare it to something. And some spoilers here for other things. First, spoiler for Mr. Robot. I'll give you a spoiler for Season 4 of Mr. Robot. So skip ahead if you don't want to be spoiled. But it felt like the way they killed off Angela at the start of Season 4 of Mr. Robot. And if you see my reviews for that show, you know I was not at all happy. I thought it was very rushed, very inconsiderate, didn't do the character justice. And also, I would compare it to Alien 3, of all things. If you recall, Alien 3, one of the is most infamous for killing off two of the lead characters from the Aliens, the second movie, in the first 5 minutes of the movie. They did it basically during the opening credits. And a lot of people rightfully say that it was a horrible decision, and it pretty much ruined the movie, and it pretty much did. And so if the way they killed off Icheb felt more like that to me. Like they were just, this is a character we've grown attached to, we knew so well, and they just show him being tortured and killed. He becomes a plot device for Seven to be angry. And so I'm kind of conflicted, because I feel like, well, at least they use a known character, someone we know and have a connection to, but on the other hand, it just seemed like he was gone so fast. And plus, I think this is also affected by, as I said, the pacing of this whole episode. It felt like Game of Thrones Season 8. It felt very rushed. I didn't have a connection, really, with a lot that was going on, because later in the episode, we're obviously supposed to feel like 7 of 9 has this huge vendetta, and that's why they showed that flashback to drive home that she has this vendetta against this woman who killed Icheb, and she's out for revenge. And I don't think they did a good enough job establishing. Like I said, they showed these flashbacks in the first 4 episodes, or at least some of them, and they've all been very effective. Like especially that one where you see the androids go crazy and start killing people. Those were awesome. They really get you in the mindset. They flesh out the story. This one I think is kind of the worst. I think, and then It was a bad format too because they showed a 7 of 9 one, and then they showed like Bruce Maddox arriving on the Freehold, and then they have the opening credits. Like they mashed those two, and it didn't work. I think the whole format of this episode, it's I don't know, like it's hard for me to imagine that this was directed by Jonathan Frakes, and it was because he's done such a great job directing, like particularly in Discovery. Like whenever he directed an episode, it usually tends to be like some of the best of Discovery. Like he does a really good job. Granted, a lot of the issues with this episode had a lot more to do with the script than the writing, than the directing. So I guess I can't really blame him. But I don't know how much as a director he's involved, because does he have any say in the editing? Because that was not edited well, and there's no fault in the acting and the particular directing, but the whole this episode, it seemed like it was asking the audience to feel a connection that it didn't really earn. Again, getting back to the Game of Thrones season 8 thing, and on top of that, so the whole time when we have 7 of 9 and her vendetta against what's her face, she's so forgettable I don't even remember her name. Of course, I haven't remembered a lot of people's names, but still, it wasn't developed enough. Instead, they took too much time with this trying to, and then we had a tonal conflict here because we're supposed to be infected. This is supposed to be like a tense situation where Picard and his ragtag group have to go undercover, and at the same time 7 of 9 is deceiving Picard because she wants revenge on this chick for killing Icheb. But then so it should have a really tense tone to it, but it doesn't. Instead, we get this humor that doesn't quite work with like Picard and Rio like dressing up and being all outrageous and acting all like it seemed like a comedy, like an over the top silly comedy like Ocean's 11, but maybe even more over the top than that. Where they're just like, and act. And I appreciate that Patrick Stewart loves doing that, and he's actually good at it. He's a good actor. He's a good comedic actor, which he doesn't get to flex those comedic muscles very much. But this is, again, it's like Jonathan Frakes directed this? I don't know. So that tonal shit, the conflict of the tone did not flow, did not work. It felt like it took you out of this tense situation, and it made the comedic moments not funny. Because there are definitely, granted, there's ways. A lot of shows, a lot of films do a really good job at like blending comedic intense elements. Like you can have an action or suspense movie or story with some levity, some jokes or comedic moments, as long as they flow well and don't take you out of it. That's not the case here. They didn't flow together. They were at conflict with each other. Perhaps I'm saying this. One of the reasons why I'm saying this is because the comedic elements didn't really work for me. I don't know. Maybe if someone actually found that funny, maybe it might have worked better. But I think it was that it distracted from what they were trying to accomplish with so instead of spending this time showing him, Rio, who is a character I'm still not completely on board with or familiar with, going down and acting like, like, maybe not do that and instead develop 7 of 9's backstory better so we're more invested. Like, I don't think that one flashback when Icheb died was enough. I think we needed more. We probably need a series of flashbacks. We need a lot more on the backstory rather than just 7 of 9 explaining it and dialogue, show not tell. Surely you've heard that before. Because, yeah, we needed a lot more. And the whole thing about the Rangers, the way they just introduced this concept of Rangers, I guess 7 of 9 is like Aragorn now, I suppose. And it seems like, I don't know, they're copying Babylon 5. Of course, Babylon 5 got the idea from Lord of the Rings anyway. But anyway, Rangers. But anyway, like, the concept of Rangers is fine. Like, I don't mind. But it needed to be developed more. They're just throwing shit out there. And, yeah, I've heard some reviews on the pilot episode, the first episode of the show, which I still love. I still think is the best, by far the best episode so far. And I've heard some criticism that it was trying to do too much, which I disagree with. I completely disagree with that. I think it flowed really well. This episode, I think, is trying to do too much. It is definitely trying to do too much, and so none of the stuff that it tries to do really works that well. Sorry to say. I mean, as I said, they're cool concepts. There's great concepts in here. There's great stuff. Like, I want to feel like I'm upset that Icheb was killed, and I want to feel the rage that Seven is feeling, and I want to feel her vindictiveness when she actually does go back and kill them. Like, I want to be moved by that. I'm just not, because it wasn't developed as well as it should have been, because there was too many other elements. And also, the whole thing with Raffi and her son, who, they want nothing to do with her. That was very underdeveloped, very distracting. It shouldn't have been there, and if it was there, they should have developed this more. This made no sense. Okay, so now let me get into something that you might be surprised to get me, because I defended the show and Discovery a lot, because they do have a lot more modern feel to it than most Star Trek does, and for the most part I'm fine with that, because Deep Space Nine and Voyager, like, ever since even the final 2 seasons of Next Generation, ever since Gene Roddenberry passed away, they have been trying to make Star Trek a bit more modern, and there's a lot of elements of DS9 and Voyager that I pointed out that are kind of just like modern day. And you say the whole thing about money. Some people complained earlier that they showed Raffi was poor, and she was talking about how Picard has a huge mansion. But wait a second, I thought in this feature there's supposed to be no money. And they play all these clips of Picard saying there's no money, there's no money, there's no money. But there's parts of Star Trek going all the way back to the original series that contradict this. There's Kirk telling Scotty, "You earned your pay for the week." Wait a second, I thought there was supposed to be no money. So having things contradict that is nothing new. Star Trek has been doing that since the creation of Star Trek. I mean, the only time where they're consistent is probably season 1 and 2 of Next Gen, because Gene Roddenberry was in full control of the show. But when he wasn't, you have a whole bunch of other writers. You can find various contradictions of this money-free society throughout Star Trek. So to me, that's not a real complaint. That's nothing new. But what I will complain about is Raffi was a drug addict. So that seems to be what they're implying in this episode, that her son is disillusioned by her because she became obsessed with this Romulan conspiracy. But she had a specific line in this episode where she said, "I'm clean now." So to me, that implies, and I'm sure I'll get some comments saying, "Oh, maybe that doesn't mean she was a drug addict." But to me, it's very clearly that she is. That's what it's saying. She was a drug addict. So there are drug addicts in Gene Roddenberry's perfect future of the 24th century. That is too much for me. Sorry. People can say fuck, and again, I'll get to this rant because people have been bitching about, "Oh, they said the F word." Fuck off. Fuck, 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 fuck. I don't care. They can say fuck till the day's old in Star Trek. That doesn't bother me. In fact, that makes sense. I like what the Michael Chabon said about that. The only reason they hadn't said fuck in Star Trek before is because they're on television that was censoring them. And that, to me, is the perfect fucking explanation for that. But anyway, I'll have to go off on a rant about fucks later, because right now I'm talking about the drug addict thing. So yeah, they can say fuck. I don't fucking care. You know, and they can have whatchamacallit vape. That's fine because we've seen modern. I mean, they had fucking pen and paper in the original series, so we've seen modern technology integrated that shouldn't be in the 21st century or 23rd century, integrated its way into Star Trek all the time before. That's fine. But a drug addict. I mean, that kind of goes along with Voyager because Catherine Janeway was addicted to caffeine. I was one of the people who pointed out how, wait a second, why it is not supposed to be drugs, so why is she addicted to caffeine? That's the modern society's way of thinking of dismissing caffeine as not a drug, which, by the way, it most certainly fucking is. People really underestimate how much coffee is a fucking drug. So I guess Raffi, being a drug addict, would go right along with that. But I thought Earth was supposed to be a paradise. Why is she poor, living in this tiny trailer? Yeah, see, this is too much. I will defend Picard on a lot of his modern things, especially the fucking F word. But no. That's too much for me. I did not like that at all. And plus, as I said, this whole side story, I don't care. Like, they didn't develop her enough. They didn't establish that she had a son. Like, just throwing this in there out of nowhere. It was a waste of time. I really could not care less. And that's why this episode is just one of the examples of why this episode was really all over the place. It was not structured well. And it had great ideas that it just did not establish. It just didn't do enough time to develop them. So, I mean, I didn't. It might sound like I really hated this episode, which I did not. It was acted well, as I said, visually. And some of the stuff I was somewhat invested in. Like, I thought it was a really tense standoff when 7-9 revealed that she was there just to kill the other woman. Everyone pulls their guns. That was tense. And I thought that worked well. I think it would have worked better if the script had earned it more. If they had earned 7 of 9's backstory more. Because we haven't seen her in all this time. I mean, they did the smart thing of filling in Picard's backstory in the missing time. If they really wanted us to care about her vendetta. I mean, sure, we do care about Icheb, especially people like me who watch Voyager. We care that he was killed. But, as I said, I didn't care as much as I should have because the whole thing, I felt very disconnected. I felt like it was just script saying, oh, now he's dead. Now feel something. Stop telling me what to do. Actually show me. Like, develop these things. And I don't think that they did this. Now let's get into Bruce Maddox. Yeah. So this is disappointing. I'm sorry. Like, they've been teasing Bruce Maddox since the premiere, and I don't think they did enough for him. I guess it was interesting how they were sort of toying with her. What's her face? Oh, God, I had to look up her name now. I'm so bad with names. Yeah, well, anyway, the Dr. Agnes Jurati, or however you say her name. I think they overplayed her socially awkwardness in this episode as well. Some people compared her to Tilly before. I was like, nah, she's not Tilly bad. In this episode, she was. So, the whole way, oh, what do I do with the transporter, blah, blah, blah. Like, they overdid that a bit. Although, I did like how they kind of tied that to the psychological EMH, or the psychiatrist EMH that showed up as like, oh, you're elevated, blah, blah. And then it tied into later where she, killed Maddox, but I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, I did like how they showed her earlier in the episode, watching fondly a video with her with Maddox, and that she actually kissed him, so they said they had a romantic relationship. And then at the end of the episode, she ends up killing him. Like, that made it more powerful. But I don't know what the hell she's talking about. I think I don't think I'm just dumb. I'll go. I'm gonna watch these 5 episodes again because I've been traveling, if you don't know, for over a month. So I maybe didn't have time to pay as much attention or keep much in Picard. So I'll probably go back. And I've only seen each episode once. I know some reviewers watch it like 5 times or something before doing their review. So I'll probably go back and watch them all, see if I pick up more. But I don't really get what the hell she's talking about when she kills Maddox. About blah blah. And plus, like, Maddox implies, like, they implied that she, yeah, I think Maddox even says something to her at the end of this episode about how her design works. So she helped build Daj and Soji. But, and when she talked to Picard, she said that she was denied that they could even exist and was really playing the ignorance card. Now, this could be true. Even maybe she was just lying to Picard because she didn't want him to know about it. Whatever, what you take it. But the fact that she actually kills him, and she says something like, I was shown it's much worse. Now, there's apparently, the trailer for Picard had apparently a very snippet of a clip someone showed for me, or a YouTube video I saw that showed that Admiral O, it looked like Admiral O was mind melding with Agnes, which, we don't know if that's actually the case, but it would explain, like, if she did mind meld with her, that she showed her whatever it is that showed that these androids are so evil, that maybe because Soji's the destroyer. But, and that's why she's gone all crazy. Now, so, it does show that Agnes is in fact like a spy, and they kind of hinted at this in the previous one by showing her backstory again of her saying, "Oh, I'm going to come join you" or whatever. I kind of, once they did that, I was like, yeah, she's going to be a spy, because this theory has been going around for a while. A lot of people are very suspicious of her, and I'm a bit disappointed that turned out to be the case, because it is a big cliche. It is something, an overused plot device that we've seen a lot, particularly we've seen in Discovery with fucking Ash Tyler, and so yeah, I'm actually disappointed that those theories were correct, because it is too predictable. I thought not having her be a spy, or not having her work against them, would be a bit easier. Now, it's going to annoy me in the next episode if she just covers up killing Maddox and everyone's like, oh, I don't know. But there were fucking alarms going off. Well, how come none of these alarms reached the bridge? How come no one else in the ship, like, was sent an alarm that the fucking Bruce Maddox was dying? And isn't there, like, wouldn't there be recording devices or something that would show that she killed Maddox? I don't know. If she's able to cover this up and continue being a spy in the next episode, which I think is highly likely that will be the case, it's going to piss me off. It just will, because she shouldn't be able to get away with doing something like that so easily. I don't know, you could argue that she's an expert in robotics, so she could manipulate the computers on the ship to hide any evidence that she killed Bruce and make it look like a natural heart attack. But it's just going to annoy me. I'm sorry, it is. And yeah, I just think that plot device of her killing the dude was annoying. And plus, like, I praised last week's episode, and I stand by that praise for its introduction of Elnor, who I do think was a great character. But in this episode, he was annoying. He was just like, oh, I get it, you're lying. Now, I know that goes along with his absolute candor thing, and that makes sense. But the way the actor played it and the way it was written was just annoying, and the way that they were trying to do banter with him on the planet when he was, I don't know. I'm sorry, but this episode was a mess. There's things I liked about it, and there's other things that I really wanted to like, because they're good concepts. They were just executed poorly. So it's hard for me to believe that Jonathan Frakes directed this, because he's usually a great director. But yeah, I don't know. So anyway, my rating for Stardust City Rag out of 10, I'm going to give this a 4. Poor. Yeah. Which is the lowest rating I've given to an episode of Picard so far. And I think I'm probably being more harsh on it because they messed up good ideas. Like, it might not be the worst episode in on itself, but the fact that they had such great concepts of Seven of Nine being this renegade and trying to avenge Icheb, like, that's an amazing concept. The fact that they didn't execute that great concept very well bothers me more than just not having a good concept in the first place, or just having a boring filler episode like episode 3 or something. It bothers me more. And the fact that what's her face was a spy all along, Agnes, that execution was very bad as well. And plus, they killed off Bruce Maddox, like, already. Like, they were playing at it the whole entire time about, like, he was like the Spock was in Discovery Season 2. Like, oh, we gotta find him, we gotta find him, we gotta find him. And they find him and then kill him off right away. I actually, at the start of the episode, when we had that flashback and that crazy lady, whatever her name is, like, poisoned Maddox, it kind of was the impression that she killed him. To me, that would have actually been better than what they did by having Agnes, like, oh, it's a big shocking moment that she was actually the traitor, something that everyone predicted because it was so predictable. It would have been more shocking if she wasn't. Although, as I said, I did like the fact that they had that earlier flashback of her in love, because that did throw me off a bit more, to be fair. But still, like, that she was in love with the man and then she would just kill him like that. That did surprise me. But still, making her be a betrayer is... That's a bit cliche. And, yeah, so this episode did a lot to disinterest me in the storyline. Last week, I was all on board with wanting to see more, and now I'm not. Now, and especially the way 7 of 9 left, where they kind of... I don't know if she'll appear again in the season or if this was just a one-off, but it reminded me of The Mandalorian, how they introduced that one shock trooper or whoever she was that worked for the rebels before. It was obvious they were going to bring her back as to be an ally that just shows up every once in a while. And it's obvious they're doing the same thing with 7. And I didn't like that. Plus, like, the whole thing at the end where... Picard was like trying to, oh, don't kill her, show mercy. Like, that seemed very cliche to me too, if I'm being honest. And how, 7's like, oh, Picard's naive. He still thinks there's goodness in the world, so I want him to hold on to that before she kills a chick. Like, I don't know. Like, I gotta admit, it was cool seeing 7 going around with 2 guns, like, shooting people. Like, okay, that was badass. But... yeah, I mean, I didn't mind 7 going back to kill the chick, but I mind, like, the way Picard... It's just such a cliche. Oh, don't kill her, show mercy. And also, I gotta mention, because I was really curious while I was watching this episode, if they actually got the same actor who played Icheb, and the same actor who played Maddox back. And the answer for both is no, which is very disappointing to me. They recast both of these characters. They had different actors play them. Now, I can understand if it was out of the hands, like the actor's just not available or doesn't want to do it, then you can't. I understand why you wouldn't want to just rewrite the script while you still want to use that character, so you just have to recast. That's fine. But I do hope that they at least trying to get the original actors. I know that the actor who played Maddox, and because this was like, 30, 40 years ago, on the IMDb, his last recorded... I haven't heard anything about him being dead or sick or anything, but I know on his IMDb, his last note was from 6 years ago. So maybe he's retired and just not doing anything anymore. Icheb is still very much active. So maybe the actor was doing something else, but I find that hard to believe because there was such a short scene. Maybe he refused to do it because he didn't want to just show up for one scene to be killed horribly. Oh, and by the way, Really, Seven of Nine had to mercy kill him. Like there was no way to save his life with the advanced technology of Starfleet and the Federation. Like there was, and she could tell that. She was smart enough to judge on the spot that the modern, super advanced, not even her friend the doctor, could bring him back to life. It was just not even worth trying. Let's just mercy kill him now. I find that very hard to believe. I'm sorry, but I do. I don't know, like there's too much about this script that just wasn't well thought out enough, wasn't well developed enough. Like, I don't know. Interesting concepts, but God, it does make me fear for the rest of the show because I was expecting great things from this show, but this is not. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Was not happy with it. Anyway, that is it for my review of Star Trek Picard Season 1, Episode 5. I will be back next week, and every week, continuing onward to cover the last of Star Trek Picard. And also, sometime before Episode 6 airs, I will be doing a live discussion video with my brother over on his channel, African Topic. Actually, we're not sure which channel it's going to be on. Might be on his channel, might be on mine. We haven't decided that, or we haven't decided when exactly it's going to be. I'm still waiting to get my work schedule before we figure that one out. But it's definitely going to be sometime, so keep an eye on my channel. I'll let you guys know. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out my channel as I cover many other shows, like other Star Trek material and The Expanse and whatnot. And, so be sure to check that out, and thanks a lot for watching.